Is your website a pretty decoration, or does it actually solve a problem? Does it create conversions? Is it doing the job that you expect it to do? I think in the region we get caught up in terms of what looks aesthetically good, and that is definitely very important, your user experience and how the interface works. But at the end of the day, if the functionality isn't behind it, then it's not actually solving a problem. You're not generating the efficiency gains that you're supposed to get. And I think that too often we obsess about, what my customer sees versus what I'm delivering to the customer. So if we spend a little bit of extra time, first of all, and develop the scope requirements in terms of what are the objectives, how am I going to increase my conversions, or how am I going to get these efficiency gains, then you're going to be way ahead of the target. And then the second thing that we want to ensure that we have in place in terms of your website or your AI sophistication that lives within your website is the guardrails. So, your guardrails are, think of it as a pothole. If we're just patching the pothole, what ends up happening is that we're just we're spending more money in the long run, because you end up having to patch the same pothole 4 to 6 times versus a proper investment and fixing the pothole properly the first time. And I mean, like for the government, there's so many more expenses. Like, they're spending money on these electric buses, but then, their maintenance, wear and tear on that bus is 40% less effective because of the roadways that we have. And it's similar with AI. So if you are developing these tools and you don't have the guardrails in place, what likely end up happening, or it's 40 to 50% more likely to happen, is that you have to spend the time fixing the issues that present themselves after they have occurred. So I highly recommend that you make sure the guardrails in place. That way you ensure that you don't biases don't creep into the information or the data, so that your customers essentially have a better outcome. And also you want to ensure the integrity that you are providing to your end users. So you have the security mechanisms in place to protect your company's assets and also your company's privacy. So you want to make sure that your IP is upheld. So the guardrails are really, really important, and you have that in the infrastructure up front. In previous development, the guardrails weren't necessarily as important because they weren't acting autonomously. So it wasn't an independent act of an AI agent. So now that you have these tools acting independently, those boundaries and those limits that you put in place are really critical in terms of how they perform. So make sure that your website or your AI infrastructure is not just a pretty decoration that's costing you money, or it's going to cost you more money down the road. Make sure that your efficiency gains are well calculated, the boundaries are in place way before implementation, and that way you can do the rigorous testing that is needed to ensure that you perform and that you are getting the results that you calculate upfront. Make sure you're calculating those returns that you're supposed to get upfront. Until next time, this is Simone from WebStyles.